Rik. I'm from the Netherlands, Hilversum, which is a very small town next to Amsterdam. Since the age of 16, I've actually been jamming in Photoshop and Illustrator to create things, not specific things, more abstract things, kind of like creating my own colorful reality. What makes me different? That's a hard question to answer, obviously, because I'm not a bragging type of person. I try to stay humble. The thing is that I really like to renew myself with every single project. So instead of repeating myself over and over and over again, if it's for clients or personal work or whatsoever, I always try to find a little bit of challenge for myself to learn something new from every single project. So that way I taught myself different software such as 3D. I got the hook of typography. I do some paintings from now and then. I do vector illustrations. I do pixel illustrations. I do photo manipulations. So that way, right now, I can do so many things that it's super cool to combine those together, and that makes something unique. I never really start with a specific sketch or whatsoever. I just let it happen spontaneously. So for me, that's the most important thing in the process, is just to let it happen. And that's it, actually. For me, it's just do shit and don't overthink stuff. Because overthinking, I've done it a lot, especially whenever I used to work at home in my living room, actually. And before that, in the bedroom of my parents. And I was just there on my own every single day. And I was just creating. But right now, I got an office space with I do have my own, I do have walls around me, so I still got my own room, but within a creative community. And I think that's something I can recommend to literally everyone, because there are so many different things you can learn from other creatives, whether it's 3D printers, camera guys, photographers, sculptures, whatever they do. You can take some inspiration and some motivation from them. And in fact, they all have the same struggle as well, so you can just whenever somebody's complaining, you're just yo, shut up. Just do it. It will be okay at the end. When starting out in Photoshop, I actually immediately grabbed the pen tool to make forms and liquid types of shapes or whatsoever. And that's been the start of my journey, and I'm actually still doing that. And that's something I really enjoy, because it's something not real, and it's always organic, and I don't know, it feels good to me to do that. And somehow I feel very appealed towards that kind of stuff, like liquids and drips and whatsoever. And then from that moment on, I started to discover it in Adobe Illustrator, which also has the pen tool. So it was kind of like a family all together, and I could do the pen tool in Photoshop and in Illustrator, which was fun. So then, that's my main thing, and I also use Adobe After Effects from time to time for some animation stuff. So that's my main Adobe relationship, actually, but without Adobe it wouldn't be possible to sit here, probably. They invited me to the event, but obviously they also inspired me to start Photoshop, and without that software I wouldn't have been here and probably have been studying economy or something like that. So that's nice. So regarding Adobe Stock, the fun thing is that I once contacted a photographer on Instagram, and I was like, yo dude, your photos are super rad, I would love to collaborate with you. And the guy was he didn't reply to me. I don't know, he was maybe he was busy or whatsoever. He was doing quite cool stuff. So 6 months later, Adobe approached me hey, yo, Rik, we want you to work with Adobe Stock. And I was like, okay, cool. So they come up with the concept, which was human fluidity, which is interesting because my work is kind of fluid. So it was a match made in heaven, actually. And the funny thing is that I was browsing that website, and all of a sudden I saw the photos of the photographer I messaged on Instagram on Adobe Stock. So after all, it was a collaboration made in heaven. And if you got quality photographers like that guy, I love all his work. It's super good, and I felt super comfortable working with that and applying my forms and shapes to that. The perfect image has some emotion into it. I don't know, it touches you. It's just you can't really put your finger on it, what it is, but you somehow you feel an emotion when looking to it, and that's the most important thing for me, whether it's like a stock photo or a painting or whatsoever. So it was kind of love at the first sight for this one. Yeah. My advice is that people should not be satisfied with the abilities they have. They should always widen their horizon, whatever that's with software, styles, colors. Just try everything, so you get to know yourself, what you really are. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Rik Oostenbroek. I'm from the Netherlands. And I'm not used to give presentations, so I just pretend like you guys are standing right now in front of me. So what I want to talk about is basically the dream, the wake-up call, and the reality. So how things turn out at the end when starting out, like what you want to achieve, what you want to realize, where do you want to get as a person or as an artist or just as a human being. So growing up, I've been a nice little kid, and as a son of two teachers, no relation to art or whatsoever. And this is my cat, and he's gonna participate in the story today. I'm a person who likes to drink beers, to be like with many people, like my high school friends. I'm still like hanging out with them after 14 years. And work-wise, I work in Photoshop, Illustrator, Cinema 4D, and Adobe After Effects. Most of my work for clients, these are the clients, but I barely share any client-related work online. So these are some of the clients I did work for, which is pretty awesome, of course, that they believe in what you do and support your journey towards what you end up with. So my work is mostly abstract, but has a twist to reality to it from time to time. Like this one for Kendrick Lamar, you don't see it that well, but it always has some sort of like fluidity to it, which I like. I'm not a big fan of like straight lines or hard edges or whatsoever. So for me, that's very important to keep like flowing to all my stuff. For this is for instance, which is more 3D, but also like totally 3D stuff, is where here I combine like Illustrator, Photoshop, and Cinema together. I also do some animation work from time to time, but I'm not a good animator, so it's just like, for me it's just having fun and explore new things while keeping like your colors and shapes the same, kind of. So when starting out, I was like 12, 13 years old, and the dream, like this is my cat, I think it's super cute. When I was 12 or 10, like I wanted to be a leaf blower, which is like super random. And that was weird. Like in the Netherlands, I don't know if you have that in Spain as well, but in the Netherlands, like during every fall, there comes like a group of leaf blowers walking like every street. And every time they came, like I went out with my sister, who's like 3 years younger, and we started to walk on the street like in 7 in the morning, and just like groupies behind them. Like I don't know why, but I really like that somehow. But that's not why I'm standing here. The first thing I saw was like this beautiful abstract stuff from David Masha, who's from Austria. I think I saw it on DeviantArt, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And it was like totally unique to me, although it has some sort of leaf, so it has a leaf blower connection to it, but that's it. Like, I was totally amazed, like how was this created? I knew about Microsoft Paint, but that's it really. So I was like, okay, this is cool. Like I was totally blown away, and I was like, maybe I should try something like that as well. I can't really put my finger on it, like why this triggered me so much, but it was just like the colors, the glows, the subtle effects that appealed to me. Plus it was super abstract, like it's super it's fake. It doesn't have any meaning, but it touched me somehow. I found it beautiful. So from that moment on, like I was this like weird kid smoking joints like on a daily basis on my balcony, and most of the time I was doing that with friends. So at some point my friends had to leave, like for dinner or to sleep, and I started like spending my free time while I was a little bit high, doing Photoshop and just messing around, having fun, and somehow like it worked for me. I didn't make beautiful stuff. Like I was just this kid like who was doodling like in school, which is like super random shit, and it doesn't make any sense, but I enjoyed it and I did it somehow. But I didn't really know why I did it, and it was like really like the Photoshop was just a tool for me because I can't really draw. I'm like terrible at drawing. So Photoshop was an option for me. So you have the undo button and stuff like that, which makes it easier for you. So this is really a thing that I realized like last year, that I've never been to school actually, like of course high school, but never went to art school. And the way I learned about like creating things was just like by looking at it, like wondering how is something done, how is something made, why do I find something specific beautiful, why do I make certain color choices, and that. And it's like whenever I see something beautiful, I try to I don't know, just to wonder why I find it beautiful. What's the thing that makes me that touches me. So this is my first creation ever, which is like I don't really know what it is. It has a terrible typography and like a green outer glow around a purple line, which doesn't make sense really. But I started jamming and I started spending like all my free time on it. Like I kind of like fucked up my school because of that. And then there was just this scene that people were doing these abstract things like this. Like the left one is from Pavel Norbert, the middle one is from Eric Singh, and the right one from someone else. But this was a certain trend that was going on. So this was something that obviously inspired me as well to try things like that. So whenever you see my tries, you see like, okay, yeah, we got our pen tool going on, we got a little bit of color, but it's still like heavily inspired by what's going on at that certain time frame, which was like 2008 or 2006, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. And from that moment on, like I started developing myself, testing out new things, new trends were born. Like this, you see like the work from Arstenia on the right, you see Pete Harrison on the left. And people started working with photos, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should try that too. So I kind of like did the same again, and it was just like I got into that flow where like I was doing stuff that was already out there, which is okay, of course. Like you can get respect for that. You can get your likes or your comments or follows or whatsoever. But I was heavily influenced, and for example, this one, which was made by Jericho Santander, you clearly see like what I came from to create like a piece which is gonna be like not on the next slide, but the one after. But those were things that were heavily inspiring me. Whenever you see like the Happiness Factory by Coca-Cola was the best thing I've ever saw. It was 3D, it was surrealistic. It has such beautiful colors, this fluffiness to it, and this mouth somehow made me do this, which received like lots of like applause from like my follower base, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's super cool and blah blah blah. But again, like whenever I look back, it's not as really far from this one, where I kind of feel bad about looking back. So from that moment on, I got myself an agent. I got a phone call like, yo, Rik, I love your work. And I was 17 years old by then. And he was like, yo, it was super cool. I mean, I'm still thankful for that. And it was like my first job ever was for Volkswagen, which is kind of weird whenever you are just this weird random kid smoking joints and staying up late and waking up late. And so I got into that, and from that moment on, like I went more commercial. So clients like Mazda and Pickwick asked me to work for them, and it always has like this base where it's mainly photography,
with a little bit of, I don't know, I was mainly the one putting all the elements together and make a composition out of it, a composition that the client wanted. So that was like the time where the ecological stuff was totally hyped. So everything had to be green. Another one is like for Grimbergen, which was cool. But it's all very, I don't know, if you look to my work right now, you wouldn't probably see like the similarity in it. So that was like a cool job I did for Sidley, which is an agency, I don't know if you know it, it's an advertising agency in Canada. So they asked me, yo, Rik, you want to freelance here? So I was like, yeah, sure. It was good money, good pay, but yeah, it was on a freelance base. So after freelancing there for a month or so, they asked me, yo, Rik, you want to stay here? So that was the moment I moved to Montreal, which was like pretty awesome. And especially at that young age, like I was 20 years old, got myself a contract as a junior art director, which is super weird because I never done school. I got to move to another country. I always wanted to visit Canada, and that was totally an honor for me. Where I took part in like Cirque du Soleil kind of stuff with James Cameron's Avatar. We collaborated with him and with all the Avatar kind of stuff. And stuff like this, where it's IMAX is believing, but I literally make like 35 of those. And stuff for Warner Bros. And Lord of the Rings, which was pretty awesome. But at some point I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like, I'm still thankful for the opportunity, but it was more like, am I happy at this point where people just pass me like briefs and with a sketch that's already kind of like been pre-made, so you don't have any freedom in composition, color use. Color use always has to match the branding of the brand, like the brand colors and stuff like that. So I was really like, yeah, fuck this shit. Sorry for my language. We swear a lot in the Netherlands, so I'm sorry for that. So that was a moment that I kind of like doubted my path I was taking. Like I was still young, so there's still lots of space for improvement. But I've been like in the advertising side of things for too long, and I somehow like I like advertising, but it's not really my thing. I really wanted to do my own thing and not the thing people tell me to do. So there was the wake up call for me, and also for my cat. Like, and there's something about the next slide. Like it's going to be video, and I wish I saw it earlier. Someone from Canada showed me this video while I was there, and I want to share it with you guys as well. It has nothing to do with my work. It's more a thing that make me think differently. So here it is, I think. Oh, is there audio? Audio? I don't hear audio. Sorry. Just make a noise. Does it work right now? Do you want me to? Okay.
Guessing that it's not.
So you have a little break right now. The settings.
Yeah, for the outgoing.
Wait a second, where is it? Sound? HDMI? Does it have to be headphones? Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a jack. It's a jack. I think it's a jack. Yeah.
Because when you connect and disconnect.
Yeah, it works. It works. It works. Great. Thank you.
Mira, ahora creo que se puede. Okay, try again.
All right. Oh. Okay. It is working. It's working.
What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? Let's suppose, I do this often in vocational guidance of students. They come to me and say, well, we're getting out of college and we haven't the faintest idea what we want to do. So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Or another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I say, do you want to teach in a riding school? Let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way. And after all, if you do really like what you're doing, it doesn't matter what it is, you can eventually you could eventually become a master of it. It's the only way to become a master of something, to be really with it. And then you'll be able to get a good fee for whatever it is. So don't worry too much. Somebody's interested in everything. And anything you could be interested in, you'll find others who are. But it's absolutely stupid to spend your time doing things you don't like in order to go on spending things you don't like and doing things you don't like, and to teach your children to follow in the same track. See, what we're doing is we're bringing up children and educating them to live the same sort of lives we're living, in order that they may justify themselves and find satisfaction in life by bringing up their children, to bring up their children to do the same thing, so it's all wretch and no vomit. It never gets there. And so, therefore, it's so important to consider this question: what do I desire?
So yeah, I find that really interesting because it made me realize, like, okay, I was doing well, I was making money with art, but somehow it didn't feel like my own art, because I was always relying on clients' briefs, resources they had available, their products, their branding. So I was really wondering what makes me happy. So that was like chilling with dolphins, or making midgets of my friends. And at that moment I realized, like, okay, I'm gonna take down all the commercial work to focus on my own thing instead. Like, look for myself, what do I want to achieve, what do I want to say with my work, how I want it to be used. So I took literally everything down and lived on savings, and I was still living at my parents' place around that time, so that made it all possible. So thanks to them as well. So I was like diving back into the pen tool side of things, where creating bold colors, and literally just don't try to look at what other people did, which is very important to me, because sometimes, because there's so much talent out there, there's always bits of influences you take from people you find awesome, from people that do amazing work in your eyes, and you're like, oh my god, like what am I doing? Like I need something of a piece of this and a piece of that. And I really tried to avoid that at that moment of time by just not uploading stuff, not looking on social media accounts or whatsoever from artists or agencies, and not looking towards to other people. So I started to develop that a little bit, like with the pen tool. I was having fun, and I started to make objects out of it, like this cute little owl, and then like some skulls and stuff like that, some typography, and that's like, I really started to develop my own thing, but somehow it didn't give me work at all. So I literally, like my savings were gone by the end of that time, and I had no idea what to do. So I was kind of like this little guy you see like in the big thing, like up on the right. I was really this guy who was like hoping that people wanted to hire me and do something for them, because I had the feeling I was on the right direction, but somehow, of course, I had followers, I had likes and comments, but nobody wanted to work with me. So I had no work for 16 months, but I could be a leaf blower at that time. So I've been working with a gardener. Yeah, that dream was achieved. So regarding the style, I kind of like try to develop on my own without like influences from others. Of course, there's influences because we're all working with the same software. I wanted to give like a sneak peek into my workflow, which contains like the Adobe Stock project I did this year. The final piece turned out like this, which is like worked with a stock image, but I tried to apply my own style to it. So in that process, I tried so many photos. I've been browsing through Adobe Stock where are so many photos, and I've literally checked like 1,000 photos or something like that. I downloaded 50 of them in low res, and at the end I downloaded 10 in high res and just test those out. Like, okay, what do I want to say with this piece? The theme was human fluidity, so there needs to be something human in it, but at the same time, it should be me as well, and it should like touch someone in a sense that people will find it beautiful without like, at least that's what I always try to aim for. So sketching up, like I'm always like just jamming, and actually I have to say that my screen recording stopped at some point, so that's the reason why I tried those concepts. And this like the left one doesn't have a face, which makes it not human to me, and the right one only has a hand, which does give you an insight in a human soul, but not as much as like other things. So I tried again with a hand, and I tried to make it more human by applying textures to it on the shapes and on the hand as well. And I had this pose over here as well, but somehow it didn't feel too complete to me because there's no like, I don't know, it didn't feel like I felt like I needed a full body. So I tested those out as well. So you can see like I test a lot things to come up with the right idea for myself, but also for the client, because at the end, like every project I do, I want it to be a potential portfolio piece. So I always try to push it as much as I can, and budget and timeline don't matter to me. Like even if the timing is bad, I just try to come up with at least like 6 concepts for everything I do. So this is where I ended up with. So I wanted to show beautiful female curves because I love the female body, and it's not like a perfect thing or whatsoever, but I just found it beautiful, like my work, that it flows and it has curves and stuff like that. And I came up with semi-transparent shapes to flow around, and the colors just came out of like a sunset kind of thing. I wanted to keep it natural and not too poppy, like bold pinks, blues or whatsoever. So this is the photo I ended up with, and the funny thing is actually that I follow this guy on Instagram for about 3 years already. And I didn't realize I picked his photo, but I sent him a message earlier this year, like, yo, I want to collaborate with you, is that possible? And he was like, yeah, sure, but nothing happened after. So at the end, I chose this photo, but apparently it was from the dude I hooked up on Instagram with. So that was funny. And then I have a workflow video for you guys, and I hope the sound works. Does it work? So yeah, that was like made in 55 minutes, which is actually quite, like, it was just one take and it went so fluidly but that was because of all the preparation up front. So how I usually work is just like starting out with flat shapes and bring depth to it by brushing, adding textures and stuff like that. So as an artist, I'm pretty often like insecure, like, am I doing the right thing? Do people like what I do? And stuff like that. It can somehow make me super insecure about myself, about what I do, because you overthink stuff, because the work is so close to you that that it's like, it can be super intimidating from time to time. And especially if you see so much talent out there and you want to be relevant, at the same time you're afraid that clients won't call you anymore and stuff like that. So I really try to do things that scared me somehow, to improve myself as a human, but also as an artist. So I started traveling, meeting new random people and stuff like that, and went to New York City on my own and just ran an Airbnb in Brooklyn for 2 months. Well, I didn't know anyone actually. And also went to LA and stuff like that. And it's just like, I was scared of flying at some point, and I was like, okay, afraid to fly, so I won't go anywhere. But I just made it happen by just doing it and just saying like, okay, fuck it, just do it, take it easy. And after all, it brought me so much positive energy. Also, like doing conferences and stuff like that, like I mentioned, like the last conference in English was like 2 years ago, so it kind of like scares me, but at the end it feels good, like doing traditional art on the side. I even done like TV show decoration kind of stuff. But also work-wise, it can be super interesting to try new softwares, to try new styles, to try new color combinations, to try just not sit on that thing you got, but just try to expand that. So for instance, like the pen tool stuff I got, like I try to incorporate that in Illustrator because some clients want like more, they want to print it on a higher res, and doing that in Photoshop can be super challenging and heavy for your computer. But also combining Illustrator and Photoshop by doing this like major laser tribute, which is like 80% Illustrator and 20% Photoshop. Using it to laser cut things for fun. But also like testing things in 3D, which I learned in those 2 months in New York City. Like, okay, we got, I have this enhanced, but what if I bring some extra depth to it? Same with like Illustrator stuff. I like techie things from time to time. But yeah, why not make it 3D? And you can actually see that it's just the same thing. I just imported the forms from Illustrator into 3D. And the same with this. Like, it feels good to try something new from time to time. I don't know, I get a lot of satisfaction and positive energy about that, and especially to fight that insecurity. Just try something else, and you never succeed the first time. But at the end, like, you got something new that you can use in client jobs, you can use for personal work. So yeah, discussing clients is always like a thing of me. Like, I'm always quite critical when it comes to clients, and usually they're not my best friends, but some are, obviously. Like, sometimes you got the best clients ever. So I don't take any jobs where I see zero creative freedom, like stuff like this. Like, they just sketch out whatever has to be in there, and the composition is set. And yeah, I mean, like, this is just not me, and I decided to not do those things unless you need the money, of course, but I prefer not to do stuff like this, which is more production work, has less creative freedom. And by saying that, like, I also try to keep all my client work separated and just put it on a hard drive and just upload the client stuff I'm very happy with, but not like the trendy client stuff. So for instance, like, you can influence your clients by uploading stuff you like yourself, instead of uploading stuff that might be appealing to clients. So we got the left one, which is a personal project I did, and you got the right one, which was applied for a gig for Nike for the World Cup of 2014. So you can kind of trigger clients as well. And same happened actually like with Swatch, it's very similar, but it's super cool that you get the freedom to apply your own sauce to a client's product. And the same happened actually with Wacom, which they said like, yo, Rik, we like those flowers. We got some new products coming up. Do you want to create a poster for us, or a hero visual in this case? So it's just about like inspiring clients to do something different. Same happened with this series actually. Like, it's been used a lot nowadays. Adobe is using it as well. But I got this cool project where Aon asked me, like, they started to build like 4 big skyscrapers in Chicago, and they wanted a moody kind of like visual moody thing based on this, which would take like a 3-minute, which would be a 3-minute loop. So I told like, yo, okay, that's possible, but I'm not an animation guy. So I hired those guys from New York. I met during my stay over there, and this is the outcome. The music sucks, by the way. Sorry about that. So you can see like I made it, that's the main entrance you see there, like people go up from there, so I wanted to be like a symmetrical thing where people really get driven into that hole. So yeah, that's quite like cool that something personal comes to life with the help of others, with the help of clients thinking along the line. I got those that's crazy two animation guys working on this while doing like all the main art direction on it. So yeah, clients always want the same shit you already got on your portfolio actually, but just with their branding on it. So I got an example over here where I did okay, there was this World Cup of volleyball in Antwerp. And I already did those visuals and they were like, oh yeah, we want something similar to that. And I was like, oh fuck no, we're gonna do some vector instead. So that was something I found challenging myself because I'm not a good vector artist at all, but I just took the opportunity, a little bit of freedom I got to propose this to them as well, which they bought, which is super awesome. Also, for instance, I worked with Future Deluxe from London, and they were like, yo, Rik, we want your 3D paint stuff around this crazy ass model who's doing weird things. And I was like, no, fuck 3D, let's do 2D. So, and they bought it. So that's really cool that you have the power to convince clients as well. Maybe it costs you a little extra time, maybe the budget is not big enough, but it's always worth it just for your own purpose, because changing the client's mind is a very satisfying thing from time to time. So I did those alternative campaigns for dry corn, which I just challenged myself because I built 3D in an actual atmosphere. I did this for Puma, where they wanted actually something like the left, but I proposed the right. And this is a recent project where I actually got myself into experimenting with things I've never done. I never work with iron textures or cloth materials or procedural displacement and stuff like that. But I try to do as much as possible, especially when the space is there. So yeah, maybe it's not my best work, but at least it's cool that you get paid to experiment, you know? So whenever we talk about experimentation and learning new software, this is a project where everything comes together really. It was for a promotion poster for Ghost in the Shell. They wanted me to create like a visual that represented the movie, but not working with things from the movie. So that was like kind of abstract, and I was like, okay, that's super random. Like they had 3D models of Scarlett Johansson and everything, but I wasn't supposed to use those. So I got a little breakdown for that, like a 1 minute short video, like how I combined like all the softwares together, which is like that. Yeah, that was a nice example, like how widening your horizon into new mediums can really bring you something. So I want to talk about the reality for a bit. Like I'm here with my cat again, like okay, the reality can be harsh from time to time. I need to pace up a little bit, sorry, I got like shitloads of slides left. So I want to balance it all out, like it's hard. You start from a passion, you become a slave to your clients at some point, and you're like, okay, how am I going to balance that? I need money, but at the same time I need to have fun, and those things together are always hard. First of all, like my family, my girlfriend, my sister, my parents helped me out a lot by just like being there for me, supporting my journey, always being like, I can be like very frustrated from time to time whenever something not work out, but they always like keep me into the reality. Also my friends, I got my own workspace right now. Which is just the main room, but I'm moving into my new office in Hilversum, which is like 20 minutes from Amsterdam, but super cozy, and I just love it there because it's like a low-key town. It's not as big as Madrid, for instance, but it's like 80,000 people there, and I was born and grown up there, and still all my friends are there, my family is there, so I love that. At the same time, like sharing offices with people who do stuff as well, so the guy behind me is like a motion graphic, and he helps me out nowadays a lot with like 3D motion, 2D motion, or whatsoever. So that's really cool about like collaborating, and we're having fun all the time. And yeah, so yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the influence of the internet. The internet can be super interesting for inspiration sources, for marketing sources, whatsoever, but it can also be super overwhelming. For instance, like I love work like this. This is by Ribbon Woo. I'm just going to show some things I find beautiful myself. I love photography, and most of the time, like it's stuff that I can't do myself, which really appeals me, and that's something I really find beautiful. That people do something, but I don't know how they did it. Like Tristan Eaton, like street art is also something I never actually tried, but it still inspires me a lot. Like Matt Moore, like I've been a fan since day one. Alex Gardner, like like the painting on the left is like my favorite painting somehow. I don't know why, but I like that, and it can influence you a lot. For instance, Iago Hortal, who's like a painter, he's from Spain as well. That can like influence me. You see like the stuff on the left he did, and I was like, yeah, why not? Just try it. Same with like photography, like sometimes a light setup can inspire you so much that you just want to wrap your head around it, like, okay, how did they did it? How am I going to apply it in 3D? So that can make you very insecure, especially also by uploading like social media, Behance, there's so much awesome stuff. Instagram, there's like crazy creative stuff going around, and it can make you feel very small, but it can be super useful to just shut it down for a week or so and just focus on your own stuff. And use it in your favor. I mean, like sharing new things on Instagram, like okay, I'm not a motion guy, but I just test stuff. Yeah, I'll skip through this. So at some point, like I share motion, and people believe I can do motion. Well, I can't do motion. I just do some weird tricks or whatsoever. I watch a tutorial, but still, clients want to work with me in motion, which is super awesome. Same with Lush. You just saw the Mini Cooper thing. Same with Lush, which is it's just like random stuff. It doesn't make any sense, especially not whenever I watch what actual motion artists can do. And also like it's fun. And this was for Adobe for a new website of theirs. So yeah, let's talk about the downside for a little bit. I'm gonna wrap things up. Yeah, your stuff can get ripped as well. So you see my beautiful Alice on the beginning, and there's like a family portrait next to it. I don't know why. And like a friend of mine, or like someone I knew, sent me this photo from a market in Turkey, like with my owl on it, with weird diamonds on it. So yeah, that happens as well, and that's like the downside of having your stuff all over the place. Like people just grab it because there's no trademarks in China and in Russia, or at least they have the different copyright rules, so they just copy paste everything. So my owl was on 9gag as well, like Friday and Monday. Like I'm pretty happy that my owl was Friday too. So DJ Chesto posted this one as well before Amsterdam Dance Event and after the Amsterdam Dance Event, Techno 24/7. Hey, so I was like, yeah, cool. It's funny. Nobody credited me, but it was fun as well. And normal people and artists, but apparently I'm a normal guy, so that's good to know. But also like I saw it like here in my owl in the winter. It's super weird. And this was actually like in the Netherlands, which is super stupid, like because I stumbled upon it on the train station. I was like, yo, dude, come on. So they paid me at the end for it as well. So a little thing that happened was earlier, like, okay, so I got this message in from other people, like, saw your work on the Apple page, congrats. And I was like, I didn't make anything. And I had a couple of beers. So I came home and I didn't have internet and I turned it on my phone. And it's like, I had like 12 messages from people congratulating me for my collaboration with Apple. But I didn't do it. So I was a little bit frustrated, but then I was quite shocked actually because I already had a couple of beers. I was just upset. I was like, okay, it's not a one-on-one copy, but it's clearly inspired by how can a big brand like Apple just buy their shit like on a stock website. They promote a new product and they just buy their backgrounds on a stock website. I'm like, okay, well done, Apple. Fuck you, Apple. And then I went to, and then I had like this Chinese brand, Xiaomi, which approached me. Like they saw my Apple story and they actually copy a lot from Apple. It's like they just copy their phones or whatsoever. So we were like, yeah, we hate Apple as well. So let's collaborate. So they bought like those images from me, and now it was used there and like on their new products as well. It was an awesome experience, obviously, to just put a middle finger like, yo, Apple, fuck you. As like I'm still using a MacBook though. So yeah, they gave me the freedom, and it was like, oh yeah, I love you, Xiaomi. And a couple months later, they bought from the stock website, like an image from the stock website as well. So that was like the circle, but after everything that shitty that happens to you, there's something good coming after. That's at least my opinion about things. Because I'm super thankful towards the Chinese company who invited me to be at they also have keynotes and stuff like that. It's super awesome. And they're like comparing to Apple, like their product and the Apple product, with the Apple products is always like in a shitty daylight something, and their product is awesome. It was such a nice experience, and like eating cow stomach and stuff like that, and being on the Great Wall. It's been amazing. But yeah, it's always, at the end, it's always ups and downs that happen, like, but just make sure you're happy with what you do. And I still am, and I proudly can say that right now, like, I'm gonna partner up with HP to create new products for creatives, where they let me free and give their feedback. And I mean, like, it's super awesome, and I feel blessed to be here, to talk here. And even like on my vacation time, my last vacation was a year ago or something like that. It was in Valencia with my girlfriend, And I still had to work, but I still enjoyed it, and I think that's the most important thing there is. Can the audio turn up? I'm singing stupid shit here. But I'm working like in my vacation, and that's like, I think that's the most important thing there is. Have fun, enjoy yourself, be grateful for every opportunity you get to do your own thing. And this is just like me, and I'm thankful that you guys were here. Thank you.